All right, it is session number 25 of the Kojima Productions Report. I'm your host, Ryan Payton, and it is the Lunar Knights special commemorating the U.S. release of Lunar Knights on February 6, 2007. And I'm here with two guests from a company that we worked very closely with to help make Lunar Knights happen, and that is John Riccardi and Hiroko Minamoto from 8-4. Is that the best way to call your
in English?
company?
Yeah, 8-4.
Or Hachi no Yon?
Japanese, it's Hachi no
Hachi no
Yon.
Yeah.
So it's not 8-4 or anything like that?
No, it's
Hachi no Yon is what the Japanese version of how they would pronounce that name, the stage name, so which we can get into after.
But the stage name?
Yeah. So 8-4 comes from Super Mario Brothers. It's the final stage, and that's where we named it off of that because we wanted kind of to appreciate old school games and kind of where we come from, our roots, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you guys have a very particular company in that you do game translation exclusively, because there's a lot of companies in Japan that do localization, but they're doing localization for everything from games to, I don't know, packaging for underwear, I imagine.
Yeah. We try to stay focused because if you're going to do stuff in like other industries, personally, I don't feel confident about people have asked us to translate like a anime or like maybe like a movie script or something like that. That's never happened, but in the past I've heard people talk about it, and I don't know the first thing about it, so I don't want to get involved.
Yeah, and it's just like we just do what we're good at,
Yeah. And you guys do a great job. I mean, I think people are going to be really impressed when you put in Lunar Knights into your DS for the first time, because games coming out of Japan have been traditionally not localized, but more translated,
Right.
And one thing that I knew that you guys were going to do from the very beginning was to give the game a voice that doesn't appear to be too foreign,
Yeah, we tried to. I mean, we had fun. It took some time. We took a long time to come up with some of the naming conventions. As you know, we would meet together in Starbucks or whatever and sit there for like 3 hours trying to think of names, but I think in the end it turned out well, and I was really happy that we had that time because more often than not, we'll only have like a week or two to think about something, and sometimes it takes 4 weeks before that, inspiration comes or whatever. Yeah. So it was really nice. We were really fortunate that we had time.
Now, I was always wondering about this, like when we're working on the project, and that, I mean, there is a little bit of creative freedom within the localization process that we would give you about, hey, how are we going to name this character? What are we going to name this item or this concept? And I mean, coming from, because you're doing translation for a whole different, like all these different companies as well. And I mean, are they giving you a lot more, not direction, but like they're telling you, okay, this is what this needs to be called in English? I mean, they've already decided before they hand it to you? Or I mean, is that...
Sometimes. Yeah. It all depends on the company. Like some publishers or developers, the creators, it kind of depends on the creators, like the actual, like the scenario writer and whatnot, how close they are to it and how much, they want things to stay exactly as it is in the Japanese. Sometimes they don't want you to change anything. They'll give you the names. They'll let you fight a little bit, but they're not, not too happy about changes. And then sometimes they're like, you know what, just do whatever needs to be done to make it cool in America. Of course, those are the ones we like the best.
Right.
But
I think we're somewhere in the middle of that.
I think so. But, it was somewhere in the middle. But, the moment we first spoke to the producer, Ms. Yoshitomi, and one of the scenario writers, Ueno-san, we knew that they really cared about it. And they were concerned that, the terms and the names and everything came off good in English and to U.S. players. And that was really, really nice.
I mean, they even go as far as back as what language this English word originated from, and they would reject certain words that are coming from different dialects and things, and so they're very hardcore.
Originally some of the we have the Terrennials, which are these what's the word I'm looking for? Elementals is what the word I was looking for. They're elemental, creatures, and earth, water, wind, fire, and whatnot. And we were trying to come up with some cool names for them, and also the gijitai, as it's called in Japanese, which is the parasol in English. When we were first thinking up names for these things, some suggestions that came back were of Greek origin, like Greek mythological references, and that was turned away immediately because the director, I guess, was using Norse themes. It was Norse, right?
Right. Yeah.
In order, and so we had to scrap all of them and come back and look into Norse mythology, and I thought that was kind of cool that he wanted to be consistent.
That is very cool.
It's tough. It makes our job harder, but that's
I felt
great.
bad for you guys.
That's how much they care about it. So.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. That was a first. I hadn't experienced something like that before, but I was glad. It's good to know they care, because we care too. And if they don't care, it's a little harder for us to care.
Exactly.
Sure, exactly.
And even they won't appreciate us caring. So
Yeah, and we do have a reputation. I mean, there's a reason why we're putting the Kojima Productions sticker right on the front of the package with the US version, is that we want people to know that this is coming from the same guys that have worked on Metal Gear Solid 2 and Snake Eater and things like that. And I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised when they put the game into their DS, because and it's pretty deep RPG. I mean, when I first went to the project about early last summer, I mean, I've played the Bokutai series before, and it's got a lot of action to it, puzzles, kind of Zelda style puzzles and things. But I think we've really, just put a lot of depth into the RPG element, like leveling up and killing monsters to get more XP, and like this whole kind of fun, like how do you say, just kind of basic RPG elements, and then like combining those with like an action adventure kind of story too. So
the previous Bokutai games, I really enjoyed them. I think I might have even reviewed one for EGM back in the day, the first one, but really good games. But for someone like me, I couldn't play them or I couldn't find the time to play them because of the sun thing. Because especially in Japan, as you know, we don't see the sun very often when we're busy on a project or whatever. Yeah. So there was no time to go out and play. So I was really glad that they came up with this sort of replacement for that, this alternate sort of this weather system, this parasol that kind of gives you like a fake sun and a moon and everything else, so you can, time can actually go by and you can play. It could be the middle of the night and you can still have sun in the game, and that's really useful. So
yeah, just to give like listeners an idea who haven't played the Bokutai series, or probably they haven't played Lunar Knights, hopefully.
That's true.
If you're in Bokutai, the big sell, at least for the first version, was it came with the sun sensor that was actually attached to the GBA cartridge, and then it stuck out of the GBA a little bit, and it would pick up sun rays, and then it could sense whether or not you're in the sun, and then to a certain degree of how much sunlight was actually directly being shone on it. So with Bokutai, there was certain bosses that you couldn't beat unless you were in the sun, and you could actually purify them. Yeah. And great idea, very cool.
It is, I was really
but not a great idea if you live in the Netherlands, or if you live in Seattle, for example.
Yeah,
that's true.
Or if you're busy.
Exactly. Or in Japan too. I mean, on the subway, for example, I was trying to get reacquainted with the series, and had this great idea. I was like, I got my new Game Boy Micro, and then I pulled out a copy of Bokutai 2, and I get on the subway, and I'm like, okay, I can't pass this first stage. And so it was kind of it turns out it becomes a weekend project when you're outside and things like that. But yeah, so with Lunar Knights up on the top screen of the DS, we've got, as John referred to earlier, it's like a digital or fake sun.
I think the technical word was like environmental manipulation system. Or
exactly.
Something like that, yeah.
Which is it simulates the sun as well as the moon and different weather patterns that happen.
And rain and snow and everything too, which is cool.
Yeah, and it affects the gameplay that's going down on the bottom screen. So that took, you wouldn't, when you look at the game, and it's got a lot of 2D animation, and you can tell that we put a lot of work into the graphics. But a lot of stuff underneath there's a lot of processes going underneath that it's really incredible. Because the weather actually affects what's going down with the 2D graphics on the bottom screen. It affects what the strength of your character. There's a lot of processes going on in the background that I think you'd be surprised to see. Just
if it's
real time.
If it's snowing and you have the snow turning or whatever, like snow equipment on, then you'll be stronger or whatnot. So yeah, it's cool. And also you might have mentioned this once before, but there might be vegetation or something like that that is in the way of you getting somewhere, and the only way to get through it is if it rains on that and it grows up, and then you can cross over and stuff. So those are some pretty cool ideas. Yeah.
I got two things on my list that I we promised ourselves we would address, but and that is this whole idea of naming different elements of the game. Right. And so, like John was talking about before, a big thing about the gameplay is these terrennials that you use in the 3D shooting portions that are kind of like an old school 2D shooter style game, and depending on what terrennial you have equipped, like your ship has different weapons and things like that. So yeah, these terrennials are a very fundamental part of the game, but they were also the biggest headache for us because we couldn't figure out what to call them, because in Japanese they call them the Seireiju.
Right. Yeah.
And that doesn't really translate very well into English.
Right.
So, I don't know, maybe you can talk about some of the ideas we had for what we're going to call these guys, because they're supposed to be like these celestial, starry animals.
Right. Basically, that's a kind of... And okay, so we ended up calling them Terrennials, and Terrennial comes from Terra, which is Earth, and because these guys are, well, it's a really long story, but in short, the directors of the game, who were very detailed in what they wanted from these names, wanted something that came from, that had that sort of background, that Earth background, because they're from this particular star, they're not from elsewhere, whatever. So, but before we knew that, we had just gone with kind of the translation and kind of broke it down, and we were thinking of some names, and one of the names that came up that we all were kind of fans of that didn't make the cut was Celestimals, which is just sort of, I guess we're kind of poking fun, but at the same time we really liked it.
No, at the time it was like, hey, that's not bad.
Yeah,
it's combined like the celestial, starry theme with animals.
Mm-hmm. And so we were riding on that for a while, then the team had told us that, that wasn't, didn't exactly fit the inspiration when we explained it to them. And also, we got some comments like...
this is from Konami US, actually.
This is where the
comment originated from.
Somebody said that it sounded like Molestimals. Which, as soon as we heard that, we were like, all right, we can't use that. No, I'm never going to get that out of my mind. So, Molestimals. But, yeah, I really enjoyed that. It's a shame we couldn't sneak that in somewhere.
Well, I kind of want to do an AO-rated version of the game. Because we have... Or maybe not.
There's a lot of things you can do with that touchscreen. Anyway, the other naming thing that was cool too was the parasol. Right. We spent weeks on that because that is like literally in Japanese. It's like a artificial sun, but that actually isn't what it is. But they use that because it fits the naming conventions in Japan. Bokutai, Gijitai. It's catchy, and so we spent a long time on that
because it's not just a sun.
Did it come up that last day?
Came up, probably the last day of like 2 months of it just hit me one of those like flashes of inspiration, and we enjoyed naming that because I don't know if this is probably not in the manual or anywhere else, but parasol has a meaning.
Oh no, it's in there.
It is in there.
Yeah,
okay, cool. We should let the readers find that when they pick up the game, but it has a deep meaning, so we were very happy about that.
Right. I'm glad you guys came up with it because I was fresh out of ideas. Like
we must have come up with 100 different ideas. We went back and forth. And nothing. You know it when you get it, and when you finally get it, it's like that's it. So
I was wondering if you can talk a little bit about this whole process of like what happens. From the day that you guys come in and we make an agreement. Okay, you guys are going to provide the translation, and from the day that you submit, your final.
Okay. Well, what we do. I really have no idea how other companies, approach this, but what we do is, the first thing we normally do, is we'll have the translators play through the game. All of our translators are gamers. They understand the industry very well. They know what's, kind of the pitfalls that often come up in translations that, maybe a usual translation company that's not related to games wouldn't know about. And, so normally we'll have them play the game, but in this case we actually were working on it, before the game was even done, so that was impossible. So that was kind of unique in this project in that we basically only had a script to go by and kind of had to visualize how things were going to turn out. And, players might come across, like if they dig really deep, they might come across a spot or two in the game where they're like, oh, that sounds a little odd. It works, but it's a little odd. That might be because we had no idea what it looked like and we really had it, But I think for the most part, I'm really, really happy with how it turned out because playing the game, a lot of it was exactly how we envisioned it now that I'm playing it.
And we were able to work very close with the people, like producer Yoshitomi-san and Ueno-san, the scriptwriter. So,
yeah, they were great.
Yeah, like we had like a bunch of questions and he responded to us in like 2 hours.
Yeah, he responded like 1 a.m. every night. It's like the poor guy.
Well, I kind of made a mistake in that I asked to be CC'd on all your emails, and so like I wake up in the morning and I got like my whole inbox is full of emails between Hiroko and Ueno-san. And about like the smallest details, like the smallest details you can imagine.
Yeah, but because of that, even though we weren't able to see the game, we were able to have a good image, idea of what's going on.
Yeah, and some of them are really detailed. So yeah, usually that's the case. We'll have the translators play through the game, and then we deliver them the files. Text files usually come Excel format or like Word format, and we have limitations on how much text can fit in each window.
True.
Like especially in this game, the windows were pretty small, so we had to be careful about where line breaks occurred and everything, and that requires you to be a little more careful about the writing. Like sometimes it's kind of like in the old days when they made NES games, they had no memory, so they had to be really strict with what they did. Sometimes it turns out with providing a better product. And I think that might have happened in this case too. We had to be really careful.
Yeah, you got to figure out. You got to be tricky sometimes. I mean,
Yeah.
especially even with menus, you only have so many different slots for characters, and so you got to think of shorter ways to explain something.
Yeah, yeah, and like, you know, we made some concessions, but I think for the most part it came out pretty well. And so yeah, that's like that process, so first they'll work on it, they'll translate all the text and everything, and then we have editors involved. A good friend of both of ours, David Chen, assisted us a bit with the editing, and especially on the main scenario. And we'll usually have an editor go through the text and make sure everything makes sense, and communicate with the translators to make sure any changes they make don't break the translation.
Yeah.
And then at the end, after that's all done, deliver the files, talk back and forth, record the voices.
Right.
We couldn't be too much of a part of that, but we wanted to. We were there for the first day at least.
That's right. We did a whole week full of voice recording for a DS game, which is pretty cool, I thought.
That was really cool, yeah. And it's kind of fun. I mean, some of them are a little campy, but it fits.
Right. Yeah.
It's not meant to be taken too seriously.
Right.
So. And actually, the opening narration was really good, I thought. So that got me kind of psyched to play the game.
Yeah, that guy's really good.
Yeah.
He's actually here in Tokyo.
Oh, really?
I think he's a DJ for some FM station here.
Oh, really? Yeah, you could tell he was good. He was one of the better, because there's definitely a difference in quality between voice acting in English voice acting in Tokyo versus like LA, where obviously all the talent is. And that guy was good. So I was happy to hear that.
But can you talk a little bit about some other projects you guys have worked on? Because you have been working on some cool games.
Yeah, well, in our we just passed our 1-year anniversary this past October. We've been around for about 15 months, and somehow we worked on over 10 games last year.
Yeah, 11 times.
That's incredible.
It's a miracle that I'm still alive.
I know.
Because there was a point last summer I wasn't sure I was going to make it.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah, I mean,
Look like a zombie.
Yeah, you did.
I literally worked, probably 16 hours a day for 3 months straight. I don't know. I couldn't do it again, so I'm glad it happened in the beginning. But yeah, we're a little better about our scheduling and everything now.
Good.
But yeah, we worked on Xenosaga Episode 3 last year. We worked on Tales of the Abyss. Bandai Namco is one of our good partners, and we worked on Baten Kaitos Origins for Nintendo. We also did Mario Tennis for Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
That was our first little project.
That's cool.
Yeah, we do
but
stuff.
Nintendo's a huge client, so that's great.
They're awesome.
they're
Bill
really
Train
nice.
over at Nintendo is one of the coolest guys I've worked with, and they're very. You would think Nintendo is notoriously strict in this business in all kinds of ways, but they were very, very awesome about giving us the freedom to do that. We did everything in that game in Baten Kaitos. We did the voice acting, we did the script, we pretty much took it right to the end, and then they took over, and that was really great. They gave us a lot of freedom, and they were very supportive. So, kind of like you guys were. So that that was a really nice experience last year. Rogue Galaxy for
That's huge.
Sony.
That's big. That's a lot of.
Yeah, that was a
lot of
long project with a lot of backstory that probably we can never get into. But it was in the end it turned out well, and it's coming out this week actually. So I hope people who are into RPGs will play it. It's a PlayStation 2 game. There's not that many of those big ones coming out anymore. There's that and God of War 2 and whatever else. But I hope people will play it. It's a fun game. Level 5 is one of my favorite developers, so I was glad to be able to work on that.
Cool. That's a nice resume after 1 year.
Yeah,
But I mean, I know, no offense, but if this was my first year doing a localization company, I don't think I would take Xenosaga, for the life of me, because that, I never played the game, but I've heard about, all these different references they have to philosophies, and, I bet it's just...
That's a very deep, confusing, mystical game, yeah. But, fortunately, we had previous experience on that. I did at a previous life, and... So, we're kind of familiar with it already. And, we're fans of it, too. You have to be a fan of the games that you work on. Otherwise, it's hard to really get into it. You'll notice in the list of games that we worked on, pretty much everything that I've worked on is something I wanted to work on. And I've played the previous games in the series. I've played all the Tales games before. And so that helps, because if you don't care about the project, it's really hard to get creative. And I'm sure you're very fortunate to work at a place like Kojima Productions where every game you guys make is really cool.
I feel really lucky. If there wasn't a game that I would be interested in, I'm like, how can I stand this?
Yeah.
For some of these different projects.
Because you have to play some of these games for 100 hours when you work on more than that. I mean,
Yeah, I'm just thinking, having flashbacks of MPO.
You played through it 30 times or something?
I don't even know. It's just a big blur to me. But yeah, it's just like you, 16-hour days for, I don't know how long that was for.
Yeah.
But
I remember meeting with 2 zombies.
Yeah, we get together in the summer and have a drink, and we both like
this is actually
both of you guys are so pale, even if it's summer.
Actually, this is a perfect segue back to Lunar Knights because
Sure.
And I'm not kissing ass, but I'm telling you like how much you guys saved me and you saved the team as far as we had these 2 fairly big projects. They're portable projects, but they are very deep and very involved projects, and that is MPO for PSP and then Lunar Knights for DS. And MPO was like the impossible project from the very inception. Like there was no way we were going to be able to get this out in a year. There's no way you can make a new MGS game on PSP and then go, and only have the small team and all this stuff. So, I mean, we were changing stuff until the day before our master submission, was changing parts of the story, adding gameplay elements, all this stuff. And there was just no way I could have like done this whole process of MPO and had to babysit Lunar Knights if the translation wasn't good and if it was coming from a different company, because it was, I mean, it was like no touch. I played the beta version and I found like one instance where like there's no way you guys would have known, but like from the Japanese, it's very cursory in the sense that you don't know how many people are in the room.
Right.
So I'm
right,
like, so I changed it to make sure that it represents that how many people are in the room. Like one sentence, and there was like another one, and that was it. And compared to MPO, where I mean, and anybody in any game industry will tell you that you only have to make 2 changes from a localization is just simply incredible.
That's
Whereas
awesome.
in MPO, I mean, it was in like the hundreds. Like
Really?
I've got an Excel spreadsheet of like, we got to change this.
Well, when MPO 2 comes around, just...
I don't even know if you guys want that.
Actually, I was going to say, I don't know if I want... After seeing how you looked last year, maybe that's a bad idea.
Seriously, I'm going to wish that upon anybody.
But I'm actually really excited to play that too, so I'm looking forward to it.
If you can get your hands on it in Japan.
Well, I'm going to get the US version, so
okay, good.
I like to, I do like playing games in Japanese, but at the same time, I think it's good for us to see how other people localize stuff because, you never know what we can learn from that, so...
And I was just going to say if you can get your hands on it in Japan because it's been
it's
selling out everywhere.
That's great. Yeah. It's one of the best-selling PSP games already.
Yeah. So it's actually kind of a phenomenon. I mean, we're almost in the top 10 every week now in Japan. And it's very cool.
It's awesome.
But it's kind of like this parallel world. We've got MPO in the top 10 almost every week, and then Gears of War is in the top 10 in Japan last week. I mean,
I saw that.
Like I'm living in the Twilight Zone,
it's true. And I mean, when you look at the top 30, like 25 of them are Nintendo, which is 2 years ago. If you told me that, I would have been like, yeah, right.
It's a weird place to be right now, but it's exciting.
It is
exciting.
I mean, I was thinking about last year. We had all. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we have all 3 next gen hardware launches in Japan? Because the 360 was early 2006.
Well, it was December, but it felt like early 2006 because there was nothing
true.
out. Yeah.
And then
but it was all within a one year time frame. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, so it's crazy, but it's nice to have all the hardware out and we can just focus on the games. And
yes. It's a very exciting time to be in Japan. I moved here 6 years ago, and I just missed the boat. It just stopped getting cool right after I got here, and I was really upset about that. The industry started to decline, and it wasn't, it was a bad time to be a gamer in Japan, and I was a little concerned. It's, that's it. I missed it, but it's now it's back, and it's probably more exciting than it's ever been. So it's very cool.
Well, can you talk a little bit about that time? I mean, just before you came here. I mean, what was so exciting about Japan?
Growing up and everything, I came to Japan. Probably about a dozen times or so before I moved here because I was doing stuff for EGM. I was their kind of Japan guy, and so I would fly over 2 or 3 times a year. And we were there for the Space Worlds, like when they unveiled Zelda for N64, and when the Dreamcast came out, and all that stuff was kind of exciting. And even growing up, reading like the magazines back in the day and see like Super Famicom and the Genesis and everything was really cool as a gamer. And then all right, I'm moving out there to be, a part of this, and then it just like died. It was like one of the worst years ever, like right after I got here. So that was a bummer.
Well, yeah, it's coming back for sure.
Definitely, it's really exciting. Yeah. Everybody's talking about games. A lot of that's because of the DS and Wii, but old people are interested in games.
Like
girls are interested in games. Yeah, her dad asked her to buy him a DS Lite, which is cool.
He never touched a game.
Right. Yeah. This Wii phenomenon, especially like DS and Wii, is this incredible one. Like, I mean, I got the weirdest phone call I thought I would never get from my dad, and this was about a week ago. And he called me and it's like, he's like, Ryan, I was just at this at Fry's, and then I saw this pamphlet, and they got these Wii things in there. And I think I'm gonna buy one. I was like, what? Like this the last time he ever played a game was Rad Racer on the Nintendo, the NES, right?
Going back,
and he up until now he's just declared that he hates video games, and he kind of loathes the fact that I'm in this industry.
Oh, really?
Because
my dad was like that too.
Well, I mean, if you watch like the news, like all you see is like repeated clips of, I don't know, like just usually FPS is like people killing each other
Right.
and like all that negative news, and he gets influenced by that. But then he calls me and says, "Well, should I get it because they've got this pack-in thing, and tell me if these games are any good." And I was like, "All right, Dad." He's like, "They got The Legend of the Zelda," and I'm like, "Okay." And then he's like, "They've got another one called The Twilight Princess." I was like, "Oh, okay."
It's the same.
Yeah, I didn't tell him that. He doesn't care. He doesn't know. He's like, the super monkey thing. Okay, I'm like, okay. And it's like Marvel Alliance. I was like, "Dad, you probably should wait because these are none of the games you're gonna like." Because I brought it home for Christmas and we played bowling with Wii Sports and it was a huge hit.
Yeah.
So I'm telling him to wait until you can just buy the console by itself and then.
Oh yeah. Well, what about Wii Sports? He doesn't.
Well, yeah, like, it's a pack-in.
Oh, you mean just wait until it's available?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Because right now there's just pack-ins in the States if you want to get your hands on one.
I see.
But yeah,
Gotcha.
I could not believe I got that phone call.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, that
says a lot.
Yeah, we were out on New Year's Eve with a bunch of friends of ours, and there was a whole group of people there who were not gamers, but they're like our age. These are people who are I think you could consider them probably hip people. They're not like these people. They know about movies and music and DJs and all that stuff. And
fashion.
yeah, they're cool people, but they weren't in games at all. But they popped on the Wii, and they started making each other with the Miis, and then they started playing sports, and then it went on like all night. So
and they said something really cool. First of all, they said they were thanking Nintendo because they were able to enjoy games, and then they said that they remembered the Famicom days.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's what Wii is bringing to the people who don't play games, who hasn't been playing games for a while.
Yeah.
The Famicom is Japan's NES.
Oh, yeah.
For those people who don't know, it's cool. But like. And you probably remember that too when you were a kid. Like the kid who in your neighborhood who had the NES first became the coolest kid in the neighborhood.
Oh, totally.
And everybody went to his house and played the game.
And I have
that's
a friend
kind of how
for
it is
it.
with the Wii. So
Yeah, and a few of my friends are asking if they could borrow my Wii. I don't know if I will lend them, but still, that's cool that people are asking me. They're non-gamers, like they don't even touch games.
Right.
But yeah, they're asking me.
So when are we getting Metal Gear Weology?
Weology.
Weology.
That's just for people who don't know about the Triology that is coming out in spring. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, this is great. I really did want to talk about this on the session, but this is about a week and a half ago.
Yeah, I think
when this news hit, maybe 2 weeks ago. Somebody on a message board, as a joke, had this fake news release, like this press release out of Japan, out of Osaka, that.
On a Sunday.
On a Sunday,
yeah.
that Hideo Kojima has announced the formation of a new studio, Kojima X Productions, that is dedicated to only Xbox-related projects. And then the first title, I think, out of that, aside from Metal Gear Acid Fluid for the Zune, that should have been the first indication that this is fake. It was Metal Gear Solid Triology, and that was like a remake of the first 3 Metal Gear Solid games for Xbox 360. Well, everybody had a good laugh, and then our friends at IGN.com picked up the news, and they put in like a legit area for that game that it's coming soon. We'll have more details on it.
Yeah.
And they were had by
the internet exploded.
Yeah, the internet exploded. They had a great laugh, and they were patting themselves on the back. But yeah, why
they were
not?
Good sports about
it was cool. And our friend Anoop, I think he came in and even he works for IGN, but he had a good laugh about it too.
Yeah, he spit coffee out of his mouth.
Yeah, that was his quote.
Yeah, so it all turned out fun, but so I think we'll have it's hard to say triology.
You can call it whatever you want. Well, let's give it an official coinage. I think, and that should be from you, of course. So you decide now. How is it going to be called?
I think triology.
Triology. Okay, cool.
So yeah, it's the joke that never die on the Kojima Productions Report,
but sadly it's not true.
Yeah, which is not true.
That's very, very, very sad.
Well, actually, yeah, I wanted the listeners to know that they can expect the KP report, the Kojima Productions Report, coming every week. From now on, we're back to a weekly broadcast schedule. And to be honest, like I was talking about this before the show, I don't know how I'm going to do it to do a weekly show. This is what I was doing before, up until I think session 21 or 22. I mean, Ken and I were here every week doing it, and then things got really busy. But there's a kind of initiative from the whole studio that well, this is really for Japanese listeners, but pretty much every day of the week there's gonna be new content, radio content. So like I don't know the exact schedule right now, but like for example, Mr. Kojima's show will be on Monday, and then Mr. Okuma will be on Tuesday, and I'll be on Thursdays or something like that. So
are Japanese listeners going to get to hear your show too?
Yeah, definitely
in English. Or
they're supposed to listen to it in English and then learn, and hopefully they'll pick up some cool. I don't know, vocabulary like triology or something like that.
Triology.
That's right, triology.
You coined it.
But so that's the whole idea, is that only my show will be in English.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
you know, about your podcast, I hadn't actually thought about this till just now, but that was the first podcast I listened to, like the first gaming-related podcast.
No kidding.
Yeah, because I was late to the podcast party, I guess, late to the PP. And I guess... we were talking one day about it. I think maybe you had just finished one, and then we had a meeting or something. And so I went back and listened to them all, and it was really interesting, and that got me into listening to other podcasts. And because of that, now I listen to one of yours every week. Listen to EGM Live when I can. The Player One podcast. I don't know if you ever heard that.
I haven't heard
a couple
it
of our old friends from
Yeah.
EGM, Chris Johnson and Greg Sear. That's a really cool podcast. And so now I'm all into my podcast, and that was because of this one. So thank you for that.
No, thanks for listening. And I know I take a lot of inspiration from the guys that are doing these podcasts and these gaming podcasts. Like you probably can't tell it from the way I look, but I've been actually doing a lot of jogging, and
You're ripping right through your shirt.
and just like while I'm running, I tend to listen to a lot of podcasts. Like I'm hooked on the Games for Windows podcast, the GFW one.
Yeah.
I love that one, and then.
Jeff Green's a funny guy.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. And then nextgen.biz has a good one.
I need to listen to that. People have recommended that to me. I just haven't. I've got like one a day basically, so I'm full, but I want to fit that in. I hear it's pretty good.
It's tough to work, because especially when you work on text, you can't. It's hard to listen to podcasts because people are talking. But like if you're doing any jogging or if you're outside and things like that, yeah. And also the Gama Sutra one's actually pretty good. They have Sarah O'Connor who did the writing for BioShock.
Oh, really?
That was a pretty cool interview.
Cool.
So yeah, got a lot of competition though. And maybe we'll see 8-4 podcasts here
someday. I've always been interested in the concept of doing something because we are fortunate to be connected to a lot of people. If you don't mind me, are we running out of time?
No.
So another part of our business is that we're the Japan office for One Up and EGM and those guys, and so. That allows us access to a lot of people in Japan that most people probably don't get access to. I mean, we go out and talk with kind of important people in the industry, and I would love to be able to package some of that stuff from people we've met and relationships we formed and put it into like a podcast form or something. But it's just so much work. We've been talking about it since we started, and it just there's no time. But it would be really cool. I think, and that's what is unique and cool about your podcast is that you give people a chance to see what stuff is like. From the other side, Japan. And other people can do Japanese podcasts like any old, people living here, but they can't, do it from the inside. There's very few people who are connected, in the industry who can actually talk about it. So I think that's really fascinating. You keep it up. You should keep doing it.
I'll try my best because, I don't think listeners really believe me when I say this, but I really do try hard to get as much information out as possible. But there's always these things like, it's too early, or let's not talk about that yet, or we don't want to give out spoilers. But screw the spoilers. let them have it. But
right.
I really do try to bring some good content. And some weeks I don't have anything, so I have to work off of practically nothing. And hopefully, if you guys are free, I'll call you guys up and we can do like an emergency episode another time. But
certainly.
But the cool thing is next week I've got something really big lined up, and it's something I want to do for a long time. And a lot of fans have asked to have Yoji Shinkawa come in and
awesome.
And come in for an interview. So Aki Saito will be my co-host, and he's gonna be translating for Yoji. And it's going to be the first time he's on our podcast.
Wow.
And, he's the art director of Metal Gear. He's been with it since MGS1. And
cool.
his art really defines Metal Gear in a lot of ways, I think. So looking forward to...
He's a very cool guy. I met those guys, like, I have a good story I have to tell. This is Kojima related.
Cool. Bring it on.
I'm going to apologize to Mr. Kojima on the air.
Okay.
Because I guess, like, back in 1997, when they first showed Metal Gear Solid to anyone, there was this really small group of journalists who were invited out to Japan, to their offices. Back when this was I think it was KCE, like Japan
KCEJ,
or Tokyo or
right.
something, whatever it was, yeah. And they showed us the game. He showed us his little Lego, stage layouts and everything. This is the first time, and so the day before, I ran out to the store at Akihabara and I picked up a copy of Metal Gear Solid for the Metal Gear 1 for the Famicom, the cartridge.
Right.
And I brought it and I had him sign it, and I was really excited about it. And then this is way back in the day, and then like. a few years later, I found out that he hates that game.
Yeah, right, exactly.
He didn't make it because he made the MSX version, which is definitely better. Not that the NES one was bad. I did like it. It's a good game, but it wasn't his game. And so yeah, someday I'm going to pick up the MSX one and ask him to sign it for me and apologize in person.
Right,
Yeah.
and ask for forgiveness.
Ask for forgiveness. I felt really bad about that when I found out because in front of all these people, I'm like, yeah, can you sign this? He's like, sure.
Well, at least he was a good sport about it.
He
That's
was
cool.
a very good sport. He's an awesome guy. I mean, when the few times that we've talked to him, like at parties or at interviews and stuff like that, he's been very cool. Even though he's like, got so much attention and pressure on him. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, we can make it up to him, I think.
Had to get that off my chest, though.
That's good. I'm glad we got it out there. I mean, I'm glad in my job interview I didn't say, to be honest, Mr. Kojima, I love Metal Gear Solid, but Metal Gear for NES was your best work.
Yeah, that would have been the end of you.
So you would have been here.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think you're right. But so for people who have questions for Yoji Shinkawa, be sure to log on to our blog site, and on the left-hand column we have like a letters, like a mailbox link, and so go in there and then submit your comment, and then I'll get those on the air. And you two are welcome to ask Mr. Yoji Shinkawa some questions too. But I'm looking forward to that. So that'll be going up next week.
Cool. Looking forward to it too.
Well, Lunar Knights, February 6th, 2007. It's coming out. It's the retail price, like the suggested retail price is $29.99. So it's a little bit lower than usual. So that's like a good price of entry, I think, for a lot of people.
Please buy it and play it, people, because it's a good game and regardless of the fact that we worked on it, either of us, I don't even care about that. Like, I want people to play good games, so don't let this one get away.
Yeah. I mean, I have nothing against Nintendo, but when you look at the best-selling Nintendo DS games, a lot of them come out from Nintendo as a publisher,
and some third parties put out good games that get ignored.
Right. So support Lunar Knights and tell us what you think about it after you've played it, and we'll be on the message boards. When the game comes out. I mean, as long as you're cool with it, I'd love to go on there and answer people's questions and just chat about the game. So, maybe, thanks for joining me on
maybe someday there'll be a Lunar Knights too, who knows?
Yeah, well, yeah. And, hey, if it's a success, I think
it depends on these guys, so. Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me on the podcast.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Report. And I hope you guys are on here again sometime soon. And I don't think Lunar Knights can be our last project together, but I'm looking forward to whatever we have in store. So
cool.
All right, thanks again, Hiroko and John.
Thank you.
Cheers.